kidnapping, arson, drug offenses. Today's testimony in the Diddy trial was a little crazy. This is Capricorn Clark. She is a former assistant to Sean P. Diddy Combs, and she worked with him from 2004 to 2012, and then later worked for Cassie Ventura in 2018. Now, what you see on the screen is a chart of all the various crimes the government is accusing Sean Combs of committing in this particular trial. Now, it's important to remember that the government only has to prove 2 of these to be true to get a conviction on the RICO charges. Now, along with the RICO charges, the government's also charging Combs separately with sex trafficking and transportation for prostitution. So today's testimony started to focus in on the kidnapping allegation of 13A listed in the indictment. So let's start with the alleged kidnapping incident that occurred in December of 2011. Capricorn Clark recounted a frightening incident that occurred in December of 2011 when she says that Combs discovered that his then girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, was secretly involved with rapper Kid Cudi. She testified that early one morning, an enraged Combs pounded on Clark's door at about 5:30 to 6 a.m. in the morning. When she opened it up, she saw Combs looking disheveled, well dressed though, but his pants were torn. He was holding a gun, and according to Clark, Combs demanded, why didn't she tell him about Cassie and Kid Cudi? She then testified that she was told to get dressed by Diddy, who said that they were about to go and kill Kid Cudi. Now, I want you to hear from someone who's sitting in the courtroom while this testimony is being given. He's an attorney from New York like myself. His name is Joe Neerman, and they call him Good Logic. Here is his recap of the testimony.
Day 10 at the Diddy trial, and this morning we saw testimony from Capricorn Clark, longtime assistant to Diddy on and off between 2004 and 2018. She documented a whole new series of crimes that we had not yet heard about while corroborating testimony from Kid Cudi and Cassie Ventura. I am Joe Neerman, aka Good Logic. I'm an attorney in downtown New York, covering this trial and dropping 2 videos a day, letting you know what's happening inside the courtroom and giving you a legal perspective on matters that you're not going to get from legacy media. We've now had 3 witnesses who have testified between Cassie, Kid Cudi, and Capricorn Clark to the outrage that Diddy displayed when he first learned of an ongoing relationship between Cassie Ventura and Kid Cudi. Now, Capricorn had known about this relationship for a while. She testified that she went with Cassie to get her burner phone because she was concerned that if Diddy would find out about this relationship, that all hell would break loose, and she figured that Diddy controlled her phone and that the best thing for her to do would be to get a burner phone. When Diddy found out about this, she said it was on December 22nd, 2011, that he came to her and took her at gunpoint in a car saying, we're going to get Cassie, and that they had gone to Cassie's house. They had gone to Kid Cudi's house, and they were driving around, and they were they stopped off at a hotel for a while and were hanging out a couple of miles away from Kid Cudi's house, and the different interactions that she had with Cassie and Kid Cudi by phone at the express direction of Diddy. Now, Diddy saw that there was a personal relationship between Capricorn Clark and Cassie. And at one point during that day, before the police had arrived, when they saw that the police were going to be coming, he said that Diddy seemed to calm a little bit when he saw the police involvement was coming down. That he had Cassie he had Capricorn collect Cassie to bring her back to his house, and that was what she did. She, at Diddy's direction, according to Capricorn, called up Cassie and told Cassie that Diddy refuses to let her go, meaning he's going to hold on to Capricorn until Cassie would come, and was essentially using her as a bargaining chip, that she was being held hostage by Diddy until Cassie would come and meet with Diddy. Now, this is what, and in fact, the testimony opened, very near the opening statement. One of the first questions she got was, were you kidnapped by Diddy? And she said yes. And that's the incident she's referring to, not the incident so much with the lie detector test, which some would qualify as a kidnapping in 2004, but the 2011 incident is what they're referring to as a kidnapping. After she ends up collecting Cassie, she also was directed to go to Kid Cudi and contact him and tell him that with the police coming to his house, that he should not identify Diddy as the person who came to his house or having any relationship to it. Otherwise, quote unquote, he said he will kill us all, meaning presumably Capricorn, Cassie, and Kid Cudi, that he was threatening that if the police were notified of his involvement in approaching Kid Cudi's house, when Kid Cudi called the police and ended up reporting a break-in, that if he would identify Diddy, that he would kill them all. So this is all very consistent with the testimony that we heard from both Cassie and from Kid Cudi as to the events that went down near the end of 2011.
So you've got everything from burglary, kidnapping, witness tampering. Yeah, you have the whole ball of wax. But Capricorn Clark had to face cross-examination from the defense. And Joe's about to tell us what happened with that.
We spent this entire afternoon listening to the cross-examination redirect of Capricorn Clark, and defense counsel Mark Agnifilo had Capricorn Clark bawling her eyes out for several segments of her testimony, and at times seeming to be a little bit confused and not sure of a recollection as to the series of calls she made while she was sitting in Diddy's car outside of Kid Cudi's house. Now, there was a lot of damning evidence that was presented this morning when she told over the entire story what it was like sitting in the car with Diddy the morning that he had found out that Cassie Ventura was having a relationship with Kid Cudi, and the rage that he was displaying, that he allegedly kidnapped Capricorn Clark at gunpoint, and she was questioned on cross-examination about this. And Mark Agnifilo made some great points, some great strides. Question about the trip to Kid Cudi's house and the phone call she made, which she said that she was trying to call someone for help, and also to notify and give a heads up to Kid Cudi that Diddy was coming after them, saying that the first person she called was Laura London, which she describes as a close friend, like her sister at the time. And she said that the reason she called Lauren was because she had fears as to that she was just going to disappear. And in fact, she testified on direct that when she was told to call Cassie in order to convince Cassie to come visit Diddy at Diddy's direction, that Diddy told Cassie through Capricorn. So this is Capricorn now talking to Cassie, saying Diddy said he's not going to let me go until you come here, until you agree to come to his house and meet with him. And that Cassie accordingly agreed to come. And Agnifilo made some great strides as far as showing that perhaps her memory may not be so perfect. But the bawling part that I referenced earlier in this video, that came when she was being questioned about her repeated attempts to come back to Diddy. She got fired. Now, this incident with Kid Cudi happens in late 2011, right around Christmas time. And she ends up being fired that summer, in the summer of 2012, and she thought it was because it was punishment that came from Diddy, because she had helped Cassie in getting Cassie a burner phone and failing to tell Diddy about this burgeoning relationship. It was an interesting moment when she was talking about how she ultimately was brought back in 2017, and Mark Agnifilo said to her that, hey, obviously he heard your message. He came back to you, because she sent several emails to him apologizing, begging him to accept her apology for what we would presume is Diddy's perception of there being a betrayal. And she's bawling, saying that she was trying to get her life back. She just wants her life back. And on redirect, she clarified what that meant, which is that she felt that Diddy had blacklisted her from the industry, saying, I have a son, he has autism, and she's crying, saying that she couldn't get any work, and that she ended up begging Diddy to take her back. Now, the couple of folks that I spoke to, journalists here, thought that Mark Agnifilo did a phenomenal job of discrediting her by getting her to bawl and to admit that she came running back to Diddy.
Now, if you're interested in more in-depth coverage like this from the Diddy trial, Good Logic is in the courtroom every day, and he does 2 videos, one after the morning session and one after the afternoon session. Link to his channel is in the description. So, as you can see, the government is making its way through our trusty chart. For instance, when we talk about kidnapping, then we're talking about Capricorn Clark. Arson for 13B is Kid Cudi. Bribery, that's our hotel security guard. Witness tampering, forced labor, sex trafficking, that's all Cassie and some of the other witnesses. Transportation for prostitution, well, those are the male sex workers who are transported across state lines to have sex with Cassie. And drug trafficking and drug distribution, well, every party had drugs. And the fact that the government only has to prove 2 out of these 8 particular crimes to get a RICO conviction. And on top of that, if Diddy is convicted of the sex trafficking alone, he's facing a life sentence, then yeah, it looks like Diddy is in a lot of trouble. Now, let's just keep it 100%. This trial is going disastrously for Diddy. See, the problem that the defense attorneys are going through is that everyone now has to be lying. The security guard has to be lying. The escort has to be lying. Cassie has to be lying. Don Richard has to be lying. The federal agents that testified have to be lying. And those were just the witnesses from the first week. We have the second week's witnesses, we have this week's witnesses that are all going to be saying the same thing. So if you're the defense, even if you do poke holes in one of these witnesses' stories, unless you're poking hole in the whole narrative, then I don't think you really have anything. It seems like Diddy is being walked down the street for a conviction, but let's not prejudge it. Let's wait to see what his defense puts up, because he could put up 30 or 40 witnesses that say the exact opposite. And if that was to happen, then it muddies the waters tremendously. But as of right now, if I'm a betting man, I think they can definitely pull off 2 of these 8 RICO charges. I think they easily have transportation for prostitution. I think they easily have the sex trafficking. And I think the drug distribution is also a give me. So Diddy is right now looking at least a minimum of 15 years in prison if the things that I believe are already proven the jury agrees with. But again, like I keep saying, we have to wait for the defense. And don't forget to like, share, subscribe, do like great YouTube stuff. My name is Nate the Lawyer, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace.